Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Ihor Ivashchenko. On behalf of Media Center Ukraine, I'd like to welcome all the journalists covering our battle for freedom. This time, we'd like to share our initiative, which is called Dattalion. The aim of the initiative is to tell the world the truth about the war and developments in Ukraine. The team documents the atrocity crimes committed in Ukraine through photo, video, stories of eyewitnesses. The Russians' atrocity crimes and genocide crimes committed by the Russian troops are documented by the initiative. I'm giving the floor to Nataliia Mykolska, the CEO of the Dattalion. Tell us about the initiative. What's on the agenda for you?
Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Andriy, for providing us opportunity to speak to the media here. I'm Nataliia Mykolska, and in my normal life, I am a strategic transformation expert and member of a number of the boards of both commercial businesses and think tanks in Ukraine. Today, I'm representing Dattalion, and we will talk why we actually emerged, what we are doing, what is our aims. And let me start about my personal story, how Dattalion, Ukraine's data battalion, actually started. Dattalion was not something I've ever thought of doing in my life, as I never thought that I and my family will go through the war in my country and my nation would go through the genocide again. But I do it because I believe we all have to play our part for Ukraine to win this war. So, first day of war, and I'm posting a lot on my social media in English for my foreign friends of what's going on in Ukraine, how Kiev was bombed, what happened in my country, that 4 kids was bombed that were killed at that time. And I'm receiving so many requests from my foreign friends asking me to post more, to provide more information of what's going on. And I'm asking why, like why I'm the only source for the information you have. And they all tell me, okay, switch on the major TV channels. And well known international TV channels are hosting their daily shows from Lviv. At that time, nice, comfortable, safe, and war hadn't spread there. So horrors of the war were in other part of the country, were close to Kiev and in the east. And the war was not properly reported because there were actually no war journalists in Ukraine at that time. And I realized that we needed to show the world the truth. We brainstormed with my friends and colleagues that worked with Western media and decided to create a database of witness videos and photos from the front lines. Because at that time, there were like these videos and photos were the only source of information that could show the world what's going on in Ukraine. I always believed that data is a power, and I decided that data and these videos and photos will be my weapon in this war. So on February 27, first volunteers started creating a database of images and photos of friends, family, and colleagues taking these photos and videos on the front line. These areas could not be reached of the journalists because it was too dangerous. Our database grew pretty quickly, but the threat for those filming actually grew as well with all these atrocities that Russian army was doing in Ukraine. For example, Max Levin, a well-known Ukrainian photojournalist, was the one that was contributing to our database at the early days. He was killed, and you know that like the life became for those that were documenting and filming again was very dangerous. So we started to create a library, an aggregated database of images, videos, stories from multiple sources, including public sources, verifying them and sharing with media all over the world, and also sharing with the general public audience. Anyone over 18 years could access our database. On March 1st, we had first international volunteer join because they believe that they also need to take part in our fight and to help Ukraine to win this war. So as of today, we are now not only the largest open source aggregated database of war videos and photos, but we also have the database of eyewitnesses that you will hear from one of them today that are open to the foreign media and foreign decision makers to tell the truth of what has happened and what is happening in Ukraine. But
Thank you,
we do
Nataliia. I
more.
would like to bring Lilya Tymoshenko into the conversation. Lilya is the co-founder of this initiative, and as far as I understand, she is the social media lead for the project. So my question will be, what kind of footage, what kind of photos resonates the most with your audience? What kind of video and footage do you share with your audience?
So to answer the question to you and Andrew, those are personal stories that you are going to hear after my speech today from the witness itself. So, and hello again, I'm Lily from Lviv. I'm a motion graphic designer in my normal life, and now I'm a volunteer for the Dattalion project. And sometimes I'm a bus driver for humanitarian aids and to bring some other stuff, help to win this war faster. So from the very beginning of the war, I was wondering, how can I help? Well, obviously it's not weapons in my hand. So as a member of a digital marketing team in international company, I could contribute with my knowledge how to do this media digital war. So soon I joined the Dattalion project. This is our digital media marketing, media battalion. And we started our fight. I'm very happy to share with you our results, because in the last 3 months we reached 2.3 million organic impressions. This is huge. This is really cool, and it's only beginning. We are very popular in such a social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Recently we started TikTok to reach a younger audience, and also YouTube channel, as I mentioned. Yes, we started it. Our account's being blocked regularly because obviously even the lightest content that we have is very violent. And you cannot even imagine how hard it is working with this on daily basis. Like first video that I was editing and publishing in YouTube, I was crying all the time. Like my table were literally wet from my tears, because I have never saw such a violent horror scenes in my life before. But I understand that this is really important to share such a truth, such a harmful horror scenes, to make world see and understand how awful it is to live in this reality. So besides digital war, I do a lot of volunteering stuff, as I'm staying in Lviv, and Lviv was like a big, huge center for volunteers. So I'm often on the border, crossing the border, like maybe for 10 up to 10 hours per one time, to bring some cars, humanitarian aids, military equipment, and even pets. I was organizing evacuation of pets from Kiev, Mykolaiv to Germany. So those pets, the road took up to 2,000 kilometers. So you can only imagine how hard it was over day. So yes, and I met a lot of women like this doing the same stuff on the border. And because we understand that we are receiving messages from our friends who are on the first line, and they are saying that they have one bulletproof vest for 10 people. And it's horrible, because this kind of stuff have to be done on government level. We are trying to help as a volunteers, like gathering money, etc. Still, I'm a mom of 2, and I'm trying to keep my war-life balance under constant air alarms, because here in Ukraine, it's not safe, nowhere is safe, even in the west part of Ukraine. So, but we are definitely winning, and with help of all the world, we will win. I'm just asking to help, to receive constantly this help, support from the world. And together with Dattalion, we will share the truth and we'll try to win this war faster. Thank you.
Хочу запросити до трибуни.
I would like to give the floor to Ihor Ivashchenko. Ihor and his family is one such story documented by the Dattalion project. Ihor and his family resided in Mariupol. Their life was upended after the 24th of February. So tell us, what do you remember most of your experience of this war? Good day, I'm a doctor. I'm a medic. I worked for Azovstal Clinic. Now it's world renowned, as well as Mariupol city is world renowned. I know the workshops, I know the people firsthand, and I know many people who have been massacred. The war started on the 24th. The first 2-3 days it wasn't as terrifying because in Mariupol we are used to the shelling. We had been shelled by mortars and grads in 2014 and 2015, so it wasn't a novelty for us. At first we went down to shelter 2-3 times a day. We would still be able to sleep in our own beds, but starting with the situation got dire with the shelling becoming more incessant and coming closer. We started sleeping in the dungeons. We brought down some cots, some sleeping chairs. It was already cold. There was no heating, so we could sleep in our clothes. Then we got disconnected from the grid, the running water disappeared, and it became really dire. And the 2nd of March was the first day when I sensed death right next to us. We were in a bomb shelter that was about noon. There was pummeling, cannonade. We stopped minding that. There were many people in the bomb shelter, about 30 of us, including children and the elderly. And we were doing all kinds of things. Some were reading, some were napping, some were chatting. Then we heard the loudest explosion. The city rocked with the blast, and it was a 3-year-old building. The bomb shelter is solid and sturdy. It was built in the 50s, allowing for nuclear war. It has the ventilation and several exits, so it was a sturdy and really reliable walls, more than a meter thick. And they started rocking, and I thought, that's the end of us. We die right there. And then we felt the smoke. We starting getting out in order not to suffocate. So we took to the street. It was raining, and we ran to see what had happened. As it turned out, a major missile hit. It hit the building, a residential building, leaving a huge crater, and it set aflame. We started fighting the fire, and there was no water. There was no running water. It was raining, so we would try to collect rainwater with buckets. People ran from the neighboring 2-story house, which was then reduced to wreckage, but that happened later. On all of us rushed to fight the fire. Some were pouring water, and I was getting some water from my bathtub. We had collected some water in the bathtub because we knew there'd be no running water, and we had to manage to put it out in a day. Do you have reasons to believe that the Russian aggressors deliberately attacked civilian infrastructure and innocent civilians? That became crystal clear after this incident, as there were no military targets anywhere in the vicinity of our home. There would be a car driving and firing mortars. It would move around and launch attacks, but there were no military objects, just a school nearby. The separatists would allege that the Azov fighters are hiding in schools and villages, and that's why they are targeting schools and kindergartens. But that's not true. That wasn't the case, and our home was targeted. This was the first scary episode, but we survived. In 3 days came the second time when we were sleeping in the bomb shelter. This is when a Russian jet flew overhead. It was flying very, very low, and it was dropping bombs, and the bomb fell right next to our home, and I knew then that we won't make it here, and miraculously we moved to a different district of Mariupol. I have a question to Natalia. If Lilya could also go back to the podium. Natalia, does the world hear you? The people that you try to reach out with the testimony, are they hearing your message?
Uh, it's very important for us to show this witness story to general public audience and to the politicians and decision makers all over the world, because we believe that this war is not only about Ukraine, it's the war about global democracy, and it's also war for the future. And we want the world to see this story and to hear these people in order for them to help us, to help ourselves to fight. And the story that Ihor just told, it's one of 40 stories and one of 40 witnesses we have. And every day there are more people coming to us and saying, we are ready to speak up. We are ready to go public, notwithstanding potential threats to them that some of them are receiving, because we believe that the world needs to see what we went through, and that Russians are not targeting military objects, as Ihor just told. Russians are, doing all these atrocities, and it's like a genocide of Ukrainian nations. It's not just a war.
Якщо у нас є запитання в залі, я прошу дати знати. And
If there are any questions, please pose them. We have a question in here.
I've got a question for you. As far as we can observe now, currently the American government does not allow its citizens, its journalists, to partake in documenting the onslaught that is going on in Donbass. Therefore, I've got a question for you. I think it would be fair, but also utilitarian, to share the actual information and recording with the Western mass media, like such as CNN, for example. Do you cooperate with such Western media as CNN, or do you plan on undertaking the necessary steps in order to build this cooperation?
Thank you so much for your question. Yes, we do cooperate with major international and foreign TV channels. We started doing it from the first day of war, and our database is open and public. And any journalist in the world and any person and decision maker in the world could enter the database and see the full picture of what is going on in Ukraine from the first day of war till today, because the database is updated twice a day, and it contains information covering the whole geography of Ukraine. We talked to a number of foreign media already. We provided the interview anonymously because we needed to protect the database until now, because there were cyber attacks on database on our personal account. So today we are going for the first time public. We do work every day with international media, and we push forward again and work harder together with our international volunteers to reach more media and to reach more channels so they can show the pictures of what's going on the front lines.
ще запитання. Пані Лілю, у мене буде до вас запитання.
Lilya, I have a question for you. If you could help us understand what made the public opinion in the world respond to the war in Ukraine with such strength. There are many tragedies in the world, and the war in 2014 didn't resound with the world with such force as is happening now. But we see the public opinion in most free countries putting immense pressure on their governments to help Ukraine. So some breakthrough happened, and that helped us to reach their hearts all over the world. Having seen so much content, what's your take on it? What made the world hear our plea for help? I cannot talk on behalf of all the world media. I can tell my personal story. When we started working with Americans in the early days of the war, when I started talking with Americans, they would say, "You only have a few days to last." And I would defy them and say, "You don't know the truth. See Dattalion, watch our videos, watch our social networks." These are the eyewitness accounts. They're fresh. They happened today and yesterday. They are updated daily. And they would get back to me and say, "Oh God, that this is not the picture we're seeing. We haven't seen the truth." So they opened their eyes on the truth and started spreading the truth. It's not just our organization that is supporting the effort. There are many others joining it, and people have seen the truth. Thank you, Nataliia Mykolska, Lilya Tymoshenko, Project Dattalion, and Ihor Ivashchenko. And speaking on behalf of the family who fled for safety from Mariupol, as one of the stories documented by Dattalion. Thank you for this conversation.
All of our announcements stand with Ukraine.
Дякую вам.